with our next module that we have in line with Power Automate. And as a reminder, we are already aware that we were learning about applying logics in Power Automate. So yesterday we did apply logics. What were these two logics that we learned yesterday?
If else and switch case.
If else and switch cases. That's right. That's practically.
Sir, yesterday I created one thing, sir, but it didn't work, sir.
Tell me.
Sir, I'm just asking that suppose I'm modified in that flow, then the other responses are not, means we don't see that other responses before changing that flow. So how to see that responses? Suppose I'm making some changes in that flow, and after that we'll receive the new responses, but the previous responses will not be with us.
Can you explain that again? I'm sorry, I'm not able to understand that.
Yeah, I'm just asking that suppose I'm creating one flow, and while running that it will showing error, and at that time 5 responses are submitted, 5 persons submitted their responses, and after that I'll modify that flow and it will run accurately. Then after that modification, the responses that person will give, only that responses we can see, but before that first 5 responses we can see that.
Yeah, because it didn't. No, it is not possible because it didn't trigger the flow. The flow was not at all successful, right? There was an error, so it did not trigger that flow. However, you can see all 5. If it did reach the flow, right? Let's just say that I have bad responses, right? Out of 4 bad response, out of 2, 1 failed and 1 succeeded. So I can come back to this page and see my previous runs from here, but that is only restricted to 28 days run history. I can only see back to 28 days.
Okay, sir.
If it has failed, you can come here, you can always select, and you can always see what was the error that did fail that run. My screen is visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now the next thing that we have in line is learning about another types of logic that can be applied. This type of logic known as a do until logic. Can you guys hear me? Hello?
Yes, sir.
You can hear me, right? So the do until logic will state that unless, or let's just say, for an example, you are working at service desk. Okay, a ticket is assigned to you. A ticket can have multiple state. It is assigned, it can be pending, right? Or it can be closed. Now your manager want to remind you to close the ticket. All right. Now, what is the trigger here? The trigger is until the state of the ticket changes to close, right? Your manager want to remind. So in this is just an example of how do until logics can be used. Do until logics simply compare two values to each other. In our condition, they will compare state is equal to, right, pending. So as soon as state is equal to pending, the flow will keep on running. So every 5 minutes, the flow will come, will check the state, and will again run. You can
just
decide.
like looping. Just like looping.
Just like the looping concept. Yes. All right. As soon as the state will change to close, right, the flow will stop. So you can relate it with the looping concepts that we learn. It is very easy to relatable, right? Just like the looping concept, it will keep on changing. As soon as the state will is complete to closed, this value become what? This particular value become false. So it keep on looking for statement or the logic that you provide to be false or true. If it is true, then it will go ahead and run this option. The logic becomes false, right? That's why it will go ahead and stop the flow. Easy to understand? Any questions?
No, sir.
Okay. So that becomes your fourth logic. In a similar way, you have, the third logic. Now, again, you have another type of logic, which is known as apply to each. Okay, so I'm gonna just do this. And we'll learn about apply to each logic. Now, what is apply to each? Before I start with what is apply to each logic, can anyone let me know what is an array?
Sir, array is a container, like it contains fixed number of values, and
So array stores multiple values.
Yeah, array can store similar type of values, homogeneous types of values. We can
Multiple values.
store homogeneous type of data in an array.
Okay. Can I say a table is an array?
yes, sir,
No,
you
sir.
can say.
Yes, sir.
Consider I have a table, right? There are few columns, column A, column B. In this, I am storing names. In this, I am storing date, right? So this becomes my column. And then I have several records available. Let's just say I have records available. So can I say that table is an array?
Yes,
I
sir.
think no, sir. Because
Yes,
it
sir.
can store similar type of data.
No.
An
In
array can store
a
only similar
particular
type of data.
programming language, it's like that. But in usually it's not like that.
For that particular column, you can declare as an array, like name
I
column.
think
You can
you don't see typically
Yes, sir.
similar type of data.
It's not similar type of data. Or the programming language it's taking like that. But as usually array is storing multiple values.
Multiple values. They can be of different data types. Can they be of different data types?
No, sir. Array can store only similar type of data.
Yeah, it is also sir static memory, sir, and it contains fixed number of values, sir. And it is single Java. Yeah, single type.
Anyways, in our concept of apply to each, we do connect to several data sources. What do we learn in apply to each? We learn that how you can apply any type of action to multiple records that are part of your array. For an example, you can connect to SQL servers, you can connect to SharePoint, or you can connect to any other data sources. But you would need to bring those data sources or bring those arrays into Power Automate. So if you have any data source, all right, and you are connecting it to Power Automate, right? You need to bring those arrays or those data from any of the data sources. These data sources can be of any type. They can be SQL servers, they can be SharePoint, right? They can be Excel. They may have tables and data. So the first thing to understand is you must bring up these datas from SQL, SharePoint, or Excel, any of the data source to Power Automate. Then only you will able to be apply a logic to anything that you bring up. Now, for an example, let's go ahead. Okay, let's go ahead and understand this in terms of this thing that I'm doing. So I go to SharePoint. So 1, 2, 3. Where is my SharePoint? Here is my SharePoint. In my SharePoint, I would like to have a document library. Okay, guys, do this along with me. Go to your SharePoint and create a site. So go to your SharePoint. If you don't have any site, then create a site and create a team site or a communication site. Anything would work.
Yes, sir. That will be the site name.
Anything. Give anything. Give your name. Okay. Once you are done, you should have a site similar to me that I have, and you should be right over here. Let me know once you are on this particular page.
Yes, sir.
We will use 3 dummy documents here. So if you don't have any document, uh, create 3 dummy documents. I'm going to create a folder called as document, and within this folder, I will have 3 dummy documents. I'll call them as project A, similarly project B and project C. Okay. Once you are done with that, what we are doing is we are creating a document library in this site. We will create a document library and we will use apply to each filter to see document review. What are we doing here? I'll click on new and I'll click on document library. I'll call this as policy documents. I'll click on create. Upload files, and I'll upload all those 3 files that I have created as a dummy document. Okay, have you uploaded it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, introduce two column. One of the column is status. This is a choice column. The last column is the owner column, which would be a person. So I have name, status, last reviewed, and owner.
So last reviewed is which type?
Date and time. And it includes time. Let the default value of last reviewed be today's date. Okay. Once you are done with the status, last reviewed, and owner, click on edit in grid view and change the statuses here. Reviewed, reviewed, last reviewed. For a few of them, give it today's date, which is 19th. For few of this, I will give the date which is 6 months back, more than 6 months back. So like January, 5 January, okay. And this would be something which is 3 months back. 3 months back as if August, June, July, June, okay. Owner will be myself. Okay, once done, exit the grid view, and you should have these options here. Project A, Project B, Project C, with status as all as reviewed. Project A has today's last review date, which means it was reviewed today. Project B was reviewed in January, and Project C was reviewed in June. Let me know once you are ready to proceed further. Are you done? Should we proceed with the flow? Okay, I'll give you another 5 minutes. All right. We want our bot or we want our automate, Power Automate to come here and check last review date for every project. If the last review date for the project is more than 6 months back, which means if for the second project, if it is January, right, we want the owner of this project, we want them to send a reminder. So we are simply taking this option here. Right? We are simply taking this option to go ahead and comparing the review date for each of the project, which means our Power Automate has to come check review date for project A, then also check the review date for project B, then also check the review date for project C. This is a really a good example of how apply to each logic can be used. You want to apply a single logic to each of the elements of this rows. This can be done for any database, not only SharePoint, but you can also think of SQL servers where you could bring tables from SQL servers and then compare those information. So how do I start it? In order to start it, I want this to be a regular process. To be a regular process, we are going to learn about another thing. Can you hear me, guys? Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes. We will also learn about one more type of flow, which is known as a scheduled flow. A scheduled flow would require you to specify the frequency in which you want to run this flow. So right over here, I go ahead and create a schedule flow because I want to automate this process, right? So I say that this is a policy review process. Right? It would start from here, 10 o'clock, repeats every week on Monday. So every Monday it will come, it will check if there is any policy that is due review, and that's how it will trigger. So here the trigger is time. I'll click on create. I'll wait for you guys. You also guys, you guys have to do this along with me. You have to create a flow which will let you review the documentation process that we have. Now the next step is you want to get all the items. You want to get all of the items that are part of your project table, right? So what I want is I will get the items property. So I know that I do have files here. There are several files, right? I'll get this files properties. So I'll click on get file properties only. I'll say the site address is the one and the library name is the policy. Is it policy or the policy document? Policy documents. Great. By this step, I bring all of the data right over here. I bring all the properties here. Now, I use a control which is known as apply to each. I will apply a certain logic to each of the properties or each of the values that it have. So I go to control, I click on apply to each. In this apply to each, I take value dynamic content, which is list of item from my previous steps. And I apply a condition. The condition is that the last review date, if it is greater than add expression, I'm going to add days. If it is greater than UTC now minus 180. Can anyone help me with what this expression will do? What is UTC now? UTC now is today's date. So what this expression will do? Add days UTC now minus 180.
It will give that 6 months back. That
6 months back, right? So if the last review date is greater than add days, then I wanted to understand, I wanted to change the property of my some of the property. So if the last review date is greater than last 6 months, which is for project B, I want to change the state of this project to be overdue. So yes, if it is true, then update file properties, correct? The site address would be the HR name, then the library name would be the policy document, The ID, again, the document ID. Perfect. Status would be overdue. Last reviewed. Okay, owner claims nothing. And I also wanted to send a notification to the owner. Delay by 1 month. This would be owner. Hello. The document. So what is the document name here? Is overdue for the review. All right. Please use please review the document or delay the review by 1 month. I will add another action, which is get file link, create sharing link or file or folder. So I'm going to say create sharing link, site address, library name, item ID, the link type should be view and edit, and the links people in your organization. And I'll also provide that link right over here. Okay, simple flow. It is a schedule flow. Then I get all the file properties. What is this step doing? This step is bringing all information and storing it in a value. Value is our array. Apply to each filter. We'll compare this condition to each of the values or each of the items in this values. It will compare last review date is greater than add days. If it is greater, then it will update the status to overdue. And then it will also go ahead further and update these items. It will create a sharing link and it will post a choice of option as a flowbot to a user. Saving it. We'll try to run this flow and we'll check if this runs successfully. Any questions? Any queries? Please let me know.
Yes, sir, the second step is not that I get files properties only. Yeah, the team site is not opening.
The site address is not coming up?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, take the URL. Take the URL of your HR over here. You know, take this URL from HTTPS to ASPX, copy it and enter custom value. Sometime when you make a new file, right, it doesn't allow you to do that. So you enter a custom value and paste your URL here. The library document will come up.
Which one, sir?
A URL, SharePoint URL for the second step. I have received a card. When I run it, I'll go on looking for your errors. But now I'll check if the card has been received correctly. Okay, the document of the project is overdue. Please review the document. Perfect. Below is the link for review. Great. And review and delay by 1 month. So I have received that notification. And if I refresh it, the project B should also change its status. Project A should be overdue.
Yes, can I see my screen, share my screen?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, can you see my screen, sir? Hello.
No, it's coming up. Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, I'm pasting that, but it's not coming. It's showing that
Click on enter custom value. Now paste. Okay. Remove till sites. Remove global team. Yeah, remove that. From after sites, remove. Yeah.
Yeah, this much.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's no. Remove sites as well. Now click on library name. Now library name, the second column. Click on that drop down. No, it is not capturing. Go back to SharePoint. Click on the home button. Copy this.
Copy the address.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Use this.
In the site address or?
In the site address. No, enter custom value. Go back to the SharePoint. Press the back button. Click on home button, not home word. Yeah. Copy this. Yeah. Enter custom value. Yeah. Go to library name. Cross that out.
This one.
Yeah. Paste the URL there in the first one. Not there. In the site address.
Okay.
Now go. No, don't enter. Yeah. Go back. Go down. Yeah.
Right.
Only paste the URL. Yeah, and go to the library name. Why is it not coming? Sometimes, you know, when we make SharePoint for the very first time, it takes time in the server to provision. So you will receive that in few minutes, but get file properties only 2. Uh, hmm. Okay, no worries. Give it a time. Try it after 5 minutes. You will be able to access it. No worries.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Yeah. I think this would be an error with everyone. So maybe we'll give it a time and then everyone would be
Can I
able to
say
access.
my screen, sir? No, sir.
Huh? No, it won't come. It won't come. Remove the site address. That it doesn't work like that. You need to have a site address. Yeah. Click on home. No, go back. Yeah. Copy this one. Copy this URL. Yeah.
Yes,
Give it a time. It should analyze it.
okay, can I delete this and again put that condition? Means this get
Wait.
files.
Yeah, it took, I guess. Yeah. Cross the library name now. Yeah,
It's
it is coming. Policy document. Okay. New step. I'll share my screen.
okay.
Then apply to each value and conditions. This is just our half flow. We also want our flow to update information back to SharePoint. But due to time being there, we will save this flow right over here. And we will continue this flow on our next training. When is our next training, guys? Monday?
Yes, sir. Can I share my screen, sir?
Yeah, sure. Is I think next week is the last week of our training. Yeah, that's right. Guys, next week is the last week of our training. So yeah, bring up with any questions and anything that you want on Monday. Yeah, tell me. Yeah, you can have that as view and edit. That should be people in your organization. Okay. All right, save your flows right over there. Okay, no worries. We'll discuss these flows on Monday as well. Keep practicing Power Automate, and we will explore more.
Yesterday, sir, I creating another application, sir, like. But sir,